What's going on, guys? If you are watching this video right now, chances are you commented on my post about the 3-step process that I helped my client implement to double his closing rate and ultimately allow him to achieve his first $9,000 day and $30K month. So with that said, I could have just put together a simple 3-step framework and given it to you in a doc and let you figure it out yourself. But I figured, you know what? I might as well take some time to record a quick video for you to walk you through this process and ultimately kind of talk to you about how he got from where he was when he started working with me and my team to where he is now 2 months later. So with that said, I'll keep things short and sweet today. I'm not here to take up much of your time. It's a really short presentation. It's only 2 slides long. I just want to do some brief context before getting into that. So when he joined myself in my coaching program, when we were just starting out, he was at a point where he was getting consistent calls booked within his business. But he was almost taking too many calls on with a bunch of unqualified prospects. He was focusing mainly on just cold outreach. He was spending a bunch of time in Messenger every single day. And he was taking calls with people that really he shouldn't have been taking calls with. They were wasting his time. They weren't serious about their business. They weren't willing to invest. And ultimately, he was getting burnt out with that. He was still getting decent results, but he knew he could be doing better. So after breaking that down with him, and I kind of helped him become aware of the bottlenecks in his business itself, he signed up, we sat down, we took a look at his numbers first, and really identified where we should put the focus first. Because I see a big issue with people when they're trying to fix bottlenecks in their business, they're guessing. They don't know where things are falling off at, what deserves the most focus, and they're trying to fill in the blanks by just simply guessing and hoping for the best. But to be honest, the best thing you can do is look at the numbers and say exactly where is the bottleneck at right now. And if there's multiple bottlenecks, where's the best one that I should be shifting my focus to now? It's going to make the biggest difference right away. So I crunched some numbers with him, which I can go over a sheet with you on this. Broke down the numbers, took a look at things, asked him a few questions about where he's at with his business. And we were able to identify those things I just talked about. Number one, he was spending a couple hours a day in Messenger, solely focused on these new friends, that people that weren't aware of him, that were just getting to know him. And he was getting those people booked, but they weren't serious jumping into the call itself. Number two, he was going straight to a 30-minute call structure, which is basically not only was he taking up time with people that weren't a good fit, but he was taking up longer periods of time with people that weren't a good fit. So he was spending a really good chunk of his week on calls and ultimately not getting yeses to his offers and wasting a lot of time. So I knew the biggest shift that we could make right away was to capitalize on the audience that he already had built up. He had a solid foundation in place. And if we maximized this right away, then I knew it would lead to some big results. So that was the first shift. We focused on that, got that in place. And immediately after our first call together, he landed his first $3K sale right after that. So that was step number one. Beyond that, over the next period of 2 months, he progressively raised his closing percentage to about 30% in the first month, went to 40% in the second month, and he took half the amount of calls he did in the first month and doubled his results. So with half the amount of calls, half the amount of time in Messenger, he increased double the amount of results in return. And a few reasons that is. So first, I'm just going to share my screen quick here, walk you through this really quickly. Super simple, but I kind of want to talk about it, the mindset behind it. So clarify, identify, and maximize. Number one, we looked at his numbers and we said, okay, where is the biggest bottleneck right now? What deserves the most focus? And if we fix this bottleneck first, what would make the biggest difference? We clarified the bottleneck. That was step number one. After that, we identified, okay, what's the one thing that we could do right now to implement that would also lead us to the most maximization, the biggest jump in results. So it was shifting the focus towards the audience that he already had built up, putting out the right types of content to speak to them, and ultimately shifting his focus in Messenger so he was spending half the amount of time in Messenger itself. So we identified that. Step number three. From there, it was all about maximizing what he currently had in place. So again, he had the foundation in place. Now let's make the most of it. And what strategies can we implement around that to really capitalize on it? So I taught him a 15-minute call structure, a structure that he can implement right away to start effortlessly getting people onto sales call or onto calls itself before going to a sales call. So his Messenger conversations shortened up to half the amount of time that they used to be. He was spending a third of the amount of time that he normally does in Messenger. He was still getting those calls booked, but now they're with more quality people because he was going towards the people that knew, like, and trust him. And along with that, they weren't right to a 30-minute call. So they were going to a 15 where he could qualify and see even if they're a good fit to take time with him on a 30-minute call. And ultimately that led to double the performance. So there's a few tweaks behind the scenes that I can talk about later in terms of how to present the offer on a call that we implemented that had a big impact on his closing. But I think more than anything, it was getting him in front of the right people, shifting his focus towards maximizing his audience, making the most of what he had already built, making some small tweaks and strategies to generate quick wins and a shift in performance right away. And that's what it was all about. So I'm going to pull this down really, really quick here and just give you a quick run through of presenting the offer. I'm in the wrong drive here. So if I zoom this in for you here, if we look at, these are the 3 phases that I teach all my students on how to properly present an offer on a sales call. So obviously, like I just talked about, there was a few pieces that we got in place before to make sure that he was getting on the phone with qualified people and making sure that these 30-minute calls that he was spending were with the best people possible. After getting that in place, getting his lead flow down and getting to the point where he's getting qualified calls booked consistently, he started to see an increase in performance right away, but what really pushed him over the next level outside of being more effective with his time was being more effective with how he presented the offer on the call itself. So with this is the most effective way possible to present an offer on a call, because so many people just spew out a bunch of information at the end of a call and they say, oh, this is my program, this is what it does, this is what's included. And it's not actually a selling point to the person that's listening, and they become confused and they don't take action. But if you can formulate things in a way that shows them, hey, this is the high level view of my program, this is exactly what it's going to do for you. From here, we're going to go into the medium level view, the core steps that my program will take you through to get you to that goal, and then wrapping it up with the low level support. This is the support that I offer in my coaching program to ensure that we stay on track to getting to that goal. And when you're able to present it this way, it ties everything together in a much more crystal clear picture for that person on the other end of the call to be able to actually listen to, relate to, and absorb. So I will give you the opportunity just to have a copy of this as well as the breakdown so you can create some scripting for this yourself. But I wanted to touch on this. I wasn't originally going to include this in because this is something I only give to my coaching students that pay me thousands, but I wanted to show you a small aspect of the process that you can improve to start improving your performance on presenting offers on calls itself. But know that without actually getting the right people on calls, making tweaks like this aren't effective. Because remember, if he joined me and we started to work together and I said, the first thing we need to do is improve the way that you present your offer on a call, that wouldn't have gotten him better results. He still would have been taking calls with unqualified prospects. He still would have been spending double the amount of time in Messenger, and he still likely would have had just about the same results. But instead, we focused on the biggest bottleneck that would make the biggest difference first, getting the right people on those calls. Once we got that in place, once we got his lead flow down, and once he was speaking to the right people, then we can focus on how can we improve the process behind it to start actually closing more of those sales and getting that closing rate up to 40%, just like we accomplished. So Justice went from joining my program to being just below 10K or right around 10K when he joined to now just doing his first 30K month 2 months later, his first 9K day. And he's tripled his results and been able to spend much less time in his business doing the tedious tasks because we've been able to optimize his workflow through what I've taught him. So with that said, I'm going to go back to the presentation here and go over a few more quick things. So we just talked about the 3 phases that we were able to implement just to identify where to shift the focus. And then beyond that, 3 phases to improving the performance on the calls itself. Behind all of that is a topic that not many people in this space really talk about. And that's the reason that I wanted to roll this out. And I wanted to give you guys here that wanted to check out this training the opportunity to take advantage of this while it's still available. So starting at the beginning of next month, to help you guys crush your Q2 business goals, I'm launching a masterclass on a topic that, like I said, not many people ever talk about, but to me, this stuff can make a massive difference in the effectiveness of your time and ultimately in the results of your business. So I'm all about workflow, being super effective with your time and being efficient with your time. When I first started my online business, in order to get from where I was to building a 6-figure business in less than 12 months, half of that year was working in a 9-to-5, and I had to be super effective with my time to get things off the ground. But I achieved my first 3 10K months while working 60 hours a week at a full-time job. And now that I've been able to consistently maintain that last year, I was able to walk away from my job and go full-time online like I am now. But I want to show you guys exactly how I manage my day as a 6-figure business owner, as someone who's now at 40K a month with what he teaches. So that's really what I want to do. I'm going to give you an inside look at exactly how I manage my day, how I manage my business, and how I'm effective with my time on Facebook. I'm going to teach you my 5 key principles of productivity and how you can leverage this to shave 5 to 10 hours off your work week and double your results, just like Justice. I'm going to show you my amplifier hour framework. Basically, this is a framework that's going to show you how to go out and get 2 qualified calls booked in 1 hour a day. So you're not spending hours and hours a day in Messenger focused on the wrong people and the wrong things. You know exactly where you should shift your focus, and you're able to double your input and results with that. I'm going to give you an action planning personal life dashboard, literally a dashboard to pretty much organize your life. From personal life to business life to all the projects in between, I'm going to show you exactly how to structure that, organize it, and manage it effectively. And then along with that personal dashboard, I've given you my 4 templates for workflow, reflection, and different templates that I use on a weekly basis to make sure that I'm in the right state of mind, dialed in terms of how I'm spending my time, and reset and ready to go to be effective with my next work week after I take some time off for a couple days. So with that said, this masterclass will be going down in just about the next week here, right towards the beginning of next month. Registration is now open. I'm going to be closing it down at probably about 30 spots in, because I want to keep this to a closer, small knit group, because I will be doing this live for those that take advantage of it itself. There's about 10 spots taken so far. Once the next 10 spots fill up, I'll be increasing the price by $20. It's not an expensive thing. I'm keeping it super low cost because ultimately I want to over deliver for you guys and show you the power behind what I'm teaching with this, and give you a system that you can plug away and start utilizing and taking advantage of right away. So if you want access to my 6-figure workflow masterclass, an inside look at the workflow that I use and still use to this day to build a 6-figure business and beyond, below this video, you'll see an option to click through, go to the checkout page where you can grab this masterclass. It's $47 for those that want to take advantage of it. Beyond that, you'll see an option after you purchase that to grab my 6-figure messenger masterclass. This is going to go over basically the core foundations of exactly what I just talked about with Justice and Messenger, and how we're able to improve that messenger process and get things moving in the right direction with that. And I sell that masterclass for $97, but for those of you who take advantage of this workflow masterclass, if you want to grab that, I'm giving that to you for only $27 extra. Don't feel a need to. If you want to just grab the workflow masterclass, feel free. If you don't want to grab either, that's cool too. But just know that I'm going to massively over deliver on this, because I want to help you on the other end of this video right now get things on the right track and ultimately build a 6-figure business. And I think this is a huge component in making that happen. So with that said, click the button below the video. You'll be able to grab this workflow masterclass. If you choose to, you'll be able to take advantage of my messenger masterclass for a third of the price. And along with that, those of you watching this video exclusively, if you grab the workflow masterclass, I'm going to give you a copy of the 15-minute call script, the script that I was talking about with Justice that we implemented to start getting him to spend less time on unqualified longer calls. I'm going to give you a copy of that script. This is something I only give to my coaching students. And I'm also going to give you an hour-long replay of a coaching call where I break down that script, exactly how to implement it and exactly how to utilize it itself. So click the button below if you want access to the 6-Figure Workflow Masterclass. And for now, I will see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.